Very, very nice surprise. So, distinguished guests, colleagues, friends, family, and awardees, good evening. I would like to start my talk by really thanking and recognizing Dr. Talia Arawi, who, as you well know, is the founding director of the Salim Al-Hus Bioethics and Professionalism Program at AUBMC, for the trust she has placed in me since, I think, the first day we met. We met at the FISC hall when you were in the education department, I feel. So I believe Talia and I started around the same time at AUBMC, and she has really been an inspiration and a motivator for me at the personal level, and one who loved and still loves to throw challenges in my way, being this speech being one of them, and I'm sure that more is yet to come. But I think these challenges have definitely shaped me and have made me a more humane and better physician in many ways. So thank you, Talia. I'm also very honored to be giving the speech tonight during this ceremony that's recognizing colleagues, residents, and fellows for carrying through their work the mission of medicine, which is very much associated with the broader notion of humanism. So I wondered a lot, where do I start my talk with? And I went back to a very basic question: why did I go into medicine in the first place? And the answer came so simply and so easily. It was because of my personal pediatrician, the late Dr. Majdalani. And I started thinking, what made her so special and so inspiring to me and to so many others? I started thinking about her qualities, and the ones that jumped to mind immediately were her devotion to her patients and their parents, the care she provided them, as well as her compassion and excellence in her field. Each visit to her office felt like going and visiting a family member. And I think I'm seeing a lot of people nodding their heads. And actually, I was excited when my mom used to tell me we're going to visit Dr. Aris. She showed integrity, and I can say it with vehemence that she definitely reinforced at multiple times my passion for this noble career. I left for the US, came back 10 years later, and she reminded me of incidents I had during my childhood that I had completely forgotten about. She never changed till her last breath. So rest in peace, Dr. Aris, because you were truly the embodiment of a humanistic doctor. So perhaps we can start with some basics. What does humanism mean? How do we define it? And I would like back to Dr. Edmund Pellegrino, who died at the age of 92 and is considered one of the founding figures of modern medical ethics. And the way he said it is, humanism is derived from the Latin concept humanities, which refers to friendly behaviors and good attitude towards the other without distinction. It is characterized by personal principles and beliefs toward his or her duties and responsibilities when dealing with the others, especially those in need. Humanism represents the basis of medicine throughout history, beginning from the time of Hippocrates and the development of the Hippocratic Oath. Medicine has been regarded as a moral profession and carried out in accordance with a set of moral and ethics. To me, the link is vividly established between medicine and humanism when you read Sir William Osler, who many authors consider as the father of modern medicine. He used to advise his students these words: listen to the patient. Listen to the patient. The patient is telling you the diagnosis. He also stated it's much more important to know what sort of person has a disease than to know what sort of disease a person has. In his last public speech that was delivered maybe now more than 100 years ago after the untimely death of his son during World War I, he was asked to give the presidential inaugural address at the Classical Association at Oxford. He took this assignment really very, very seriously. And he chose to speak in his last words, the old humanities and the new science. And he called for unification of both. He said, humanists don't have enough science, and the science kindly lacks the humanities. This unhappy divorce should have never taken place. Throughout his career, he kept on reminding everyone for the need of humanities in medicine. He says, humanities are the hormones of the profession. And he was so worried about the risk of separating our humanistic traditions. Scientific evidence was important, but in no way was it a substitute for a humanistic approach. So I believe that humanism is why most of us went into medicine in the first place. We have something to offer. We know that, whether it's our knowledge, our skills, or our talents. But what we also have is the most important quality, which is humanity, that comforts us and connects us. So you might ask, what are the traits of a humanistic person? Why are we recognizing these amazing people we have in front of us today? And mind you, humanism, I don't think, can be compartmentalized. That is, you cannot be humanistic at work, take off the coat, and go home and be somebody completely different. So it's a continuum. To me, the humanistic characters include honesty, empathy and compassion, altruism, care of patients with respect to their dignity and beliefs, integrity, excellence, and service. So moving on, you hear a lot of people wondering, is humanism and professionalism the same thing? Dr. So-and-so is very professional. Are they the same for me? I don't think so, and let me explain why. If you want to think about it in broad terms, humanism can be thought as making life better for everyone and leaving this world a better place for those who come after us. So it's a set of beliefs. While on the other hand, professionalism is more thought of a set of behaviors. Okay, so do they meet? Is one necessary for the other? I think there's definitely a synergy between both. So we do know that professionalism is very behavior, it's a must, but I believe that it's not sufficient for the human practice of medicine. If you ask patients what do they want in a doctor, they do say they want his knowledge, but they also want somebody who truly cares for their patients. Where do the qualities really surface? Is it mainly under stress or duress? Let's walk through a typical day at work. We go into the hospital, we're going to go do rounds, we're going to go to our OR, no stress, everything's fine. This is not the reality. We know the minute we walk in, we're going to have lots of challenges and opportunity to forget our professionalism completely. And how we act in front of a patient might be one thing, but the minute the patient walks away might be something completely different. And this can happen in the hallway, in the elevator, even in the OR when the patient is asleep and not listening to how you're behaving. Okay? So we might act correctly in front of the medical students and residents, yet so easily snap at an orderly or a clerk, while actually the medical student is watching us and absorbing it all in. So my friends, it's how we act in those times that truly show our honest values, and this is when we are asked to draw on our humanistic principles to sustain us during the times of stress. The past 3 years have been challenging, even more, starting from the October uprising, the COVID pandemic, the socioeconomic collapse, the Beirut blast, the socioeconomic collapse. I'm even going to mention the brain drain, when we saw many of our colleagues leave. Yet, this has really brought out the humanistic trait in many of us. The unflappable commitment to overcome the obstacles, to care for your friends, to help your peers, to be there for your patients, your family, while keeping in mind to caring for yourself. This is truly a tribute to your humanism. So hats down for that. And many medical students have emerged as champions and leaders and are exhibiting the true meaning of being a doctor by setting up clinics to help the needy and raise funds. And this really could not have been done did they not have amazing role models in front of them. So bravo to all. So good role models, but yet we are faced a lot of times in our profession and other professions with bad role models. And can we say that the bad role models teaches the other way that we don't want to act? I really am not sure about this, and I think it reinforces the idea that we exist in a culture that tolerates bad behavior, that accepts bad behavior. And in front of our students, when we say something and act in a completely different way, this will transition them from being a caring individual in the community at large to a member of the league. So our role as physicians is to make sure that the medical students remain caring, and this requires us, or is reinforced by a society or a community that emphasizes the importance of humanism, integrity, altruism, respect for others, and compassion. Without empathy and respect for the human being, professionalism becomes largely an intellectual exercise and nothing more. To end my humble intervention, I would like to quote Dr. Atul Gawande from his book entitled Being Mortal, Medicine and What Matters at the End. And he says, sometimes we can offer a cure, sometimes only a salve, sometimes not even that. But whatever we can offer, our interventions and the risks and sacrifices they entail are justified only if they serve the large aims of a person's life. When we forget that, the suffering we inflict is barbaric. When we remember it, the good we can do is simply breathtaking. I would like to heartfeltly congratulate the awardees for the recognition they are receiving, as they, in my critical conscious mind, have exemplified the commitment to humanism and professionalism. Alf Mabruk.